How's your day been so far, Theresa?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, it's nice and sunny up here in the north for a change.
Is it?
Yeah.
Lovely. Good. Just going to wait for a few more people to join. Excellent, thank you. Just seeing people coming in. Perfect, yep. So, welcome to today's webinar, Team Training in Pubs, Challenges and Solutions. Just going to wait a couple more seconds just to let people join. As you join, please feel free just to put your name in the comments, introduce yourself in the chat, whether LinkedIn or YouTube, and just with your name and what your position is, that'd be really helpful. Excellent. Okay. So yes, without further ado, thank you everybody for taking the time to attend another one of the MAPAL webinar series, with this particular topic being team training in pubs, challenges and solutions. Now, within the MAPAL group, we're delighted to work with a number of pubs and bars and know only too well the different challenges that you individuals face. Today, we hope to uncover a snapshot of the key learnings, whether you are a pub manager looking to overcome training hurdles, you're an HR professional working within hospitality, seeking to enrich your toolkit, or you're a pub owner looking to elevate your establishment through enhanced team training. Basically, anyone dedicated to improving pub team dynamics and performance. When planning today's webinar, we looked at our portfolio of customers and who would be a good fit for such a topic. And I couldn't be any happier than when Theresa accepted, having worked with Theresa previously, to join us for today's discussion, as she is coming at this with a wealth of knowledge and experience. And rather than me do you just injustice, Theresa, I'm going to pass over to yourself just to give us a quick introduction on yourself.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so those who don't know me, my name is Theresa Mitchell. I'm a proud Yorkshire woman. I began my career nearly 3 decades ago in a large PLC where I think I had access to some fantastic development opportunities, which led me down a career pathway in learning and development. But I've also, during my career, worked with many smaller businesses along the way, and prior to my role here at JW Lees, I actually worked as an independent consultant for a couple of years. So there I was working and supporting small businesses that maybe only had 3, 4, 5 sites maybe, and some individual operators as well. So giving them the benefit of my years of experience. So I've been here at JW Lees now for 18 months. So I work as the Learning and Development Business Partner in the business, which is a new role into the business. We not only manage 46 sites, that's across our pubs division and inns and hotels, and that's across the northwest and into North Wales and Anglesey, but we also do brewing, obviously production side of the business, and we've also got a logistics division as well, so we do warehousing and distribution on top of that. Plus we've also got around and about 80 tenanted sites under our pub partners division as well, so kind of multifaceted business really. We are family owned proudly, and almost 200 years old now. 7th generation has just joined the business in a leadership role. So it's kind of exciting times, but I'm the only person in the business dedicated to learning and development full time. So that can be quite a challenge. We do have a budget, but it's not a huge budget, and so therefore I have to be quite creative in designing and developing learning solutions for our over 1,600 employees currently. So that's me really, and most of them work in the managed division, hence why we're here talking about that today. Yeah. Sure.
No, thank you, Theresa. And that's it's actually a fascinating statistic. Just when you said that there. Like when you come to think about it, I on a daily sort of basis within my role, which I will sort of give a slight intro to myself, speak with multiple learning and development managers. but you never actually appreciate the ratios, I don't think, around how many people you look after in that. And it would be great if people could sort of share or put comments or ask questions just around and be able to sort of stipulate how many learners themselves or their team actually look after. So, for example, there, Theresa's alluded to, she's one person and she's looking after roughly about 1,643 people, to be precise. So, appreciate that's not day-to-day in direct reports, but as I say, from my experience, sometimes I will speak to people with teams of 5 and they'll look after 300 people. And it's not to say you don't do less, but just for statistic purposes, I would love to if people could sort of acknowledge and share that. And I would love to share those statistics at a later date. So yes, thank you so much for your introduction there, Theresa. As I said, there's, as I alluded to earlier, there's years of valuable experience there. As for myself, I've been fortunate enough to be working with MAPAL for close to 2 years now in the enterprise sales team and working within hospitality for about the last sort of 20 years. I know, don't look that old, but I have seen multiple challenges in the ever-changing landscape that is hospitality. And I always take great satisfaction from working in the industry, and my role particular, that I'm able to propose suitable solutions for whatever those challenges may be. So, Theresa, bars and pubs have historically always been very sort of people-centric businesses. It's also a very diverse industry with operating small local niche pubs. You have independents within hotels, right the way through to sort of large international chains that we all sort of know and love. And each generates a very sort of different training regime. What have your experiences been in different training within the industry? And what are the different factors that you find affect them?
So obviously, as I alluded to in my introduction, I've been lucky enough during my career to work for a wide range of businesses. And I've seen for myself across those years that the resources in terms of being able to design and deliver training initiatives vary hugely. Large PLCs may have a team dedicated to just purely design and then another team on delivery. Branded operators might have specific trainers dedicated to their individual brands. And I've worked for those situations as well in my time. But I think the majority of UK hospitality businesses aren't big PLCs. They are smaller, independent businesses, owner-operated maybe, or they're SMEs with, a handful of sites, a cluster of sites. So I've kind of wanted to talk today really about kind of solutions that might work for them and might benefit my experience, because it's very easy to look at what the big companies are doing and kind of go, oh my gosh, we're not delivering that, and we should be. But actually, with the resources, it's just not possible for every business. So I do want to really focus on things that might apply to the smaller businesses, as well as learning from some of the bigger organisations with the bigger resources. So I've worked myself within teams of trainers who we can bounce ideas off and share insights and inspire each other and motivate each other. But then I've worked where it's just myself alone, and having to kind of come up with the solutions myself. So, and again, during my couple of decades or more, there's been a massive amount of change in how we train and inspire and motivate our team. The focus is always about making money, making profitable businesses whilst providing a great service to customers. And the challenge has just got more and more, really, that I've seen, in particular, I think, in the last 4 years. Obviously, no shock, but we've had Brexit and then subsequently COVID pandemic, which just changed the landscape of hospitality beyond anything anybody could have probably imagined. And that's had a real impact, a long-term legacy of supply of labour into hospitality, particularly, as we know, skilled chefs has been, headline news, really. So that's increasing pressure on our general managers and everybody who works in the industry in order to attract and retain the best people possible, because we do need people in order to deliver the service to our customers ultimately.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Theresa. I'm sure there's a lot of the audience on the call that can empathise with that. Is it fair to say there's also been more recent economic pressures as well?
Well, obviously, again, it's headline news every day of the week, isn't it? Cost of living crisis increases, and pub businesses have been particularly hard hit, and not a right lot of support forthcoming from the government, unfortunately.
Yes.
So we've got obviously increase in utilities, in food costs, particularly affecting those businesses like ours that are in production, but also our significant amount of our sites do have food offerings. So we're being squeezed from every direction. It feels like anyway, and we've got to try and balance that profitability desire, but still delivering a great customer experience and value for money, and customers are becoming increasingly demanding when it comes to value for money, so it's a constant challenge. Staff costs, staff wages, obviously we just had a national minimum wage increase, which is great for individuals to reward them for working in our businesses, but it is the biggest expense that we see within our pub businesses. But we need people ultimately, and we need good people, and we need them to be positive and happy and smiley and friendly, and good at their jobs, really. So it is a balance that we just have to do day in, day out.
Yeah, no, I totally, I do empathise with that. I think, like, as well, we do look at the sort of cost of living, everything happening. Like, I'm based in Edinburgh, and I still go out on a Friday and Saturday, and I do still see pubs and bars full. Like, there's still the demand there. I think you'll agree. So, like, although there has been a lot of sort of darker days, do you see there sort of being any solutions to these factors, or sort of light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak?
Well, I wish I had a magic wand and can come up with the solutions. Unfortunately not. But there is like the I mean, we've just we've just seen the utility prices come down. I think as well that it's made us focus on those areas more as a business. Our managing director reported just yesterday, not only have we reduced the unit price now of our utilities for getting a better deal and the prices coming down, but also our usage has decreased. So we're actually, looking at ways of being efficient as a business and cutting wastage and things like that. So I think if there is a silver lining to come out of this whole thing, then it is definitely that we're not as wasteful, and our GMs and all our pub teams have been focusing on that, and hopefully we'll reap the benefits going forward. I mean, we're a reasonably sized business with our the number of pubs we've got, and so there is some benefit in economies of scale, for example, buying in bulk and those kind of things. Obviously we brew our own beer, so that kind of helps, although we do buy from other suppliers, obviously. And I think so those businesses that can utilize that supply chain to decrease their costs should be really leaning on suppliers for that, and also investment in technology, which will help us be more efficient, maybe reduce our labour costs by putting more innovations in place that can reduce the number of people we actually need to deliver our offer. So we've got things potentially in the pipeline around order and pay apps, things in our beer gardens, for example. And I even saw online the other night, which I thought was quite interesting, that you can get waiter drones these days. I'm not sure that we're going to go that far in JWLEs, but obviously the whole industry is looking at ways of reducing those costs around labour and just making the experience, I guess, more entertaining for the customers at the same time there.
Yeah, I think we'd all definitely be entertained with waiter drones. I don't know how that would in some of the bars that I frequent, but yes. And what would be your thoughts, I guess, around sort of tech solutions, and how would they sort of becoming more prominent in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, tech's always been there in the background, I think, in the pub sector. But I think obviously during COVID, we customers got used to more tech, especially obviously with the online ordering and an order and pay at the app, so you're having less interaction with a human being. So customers' preferences have definitely evolved, shall we say, as a result of that, and tech is becoming more the norm. So there is pressure, I guess, with that. However, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and I believe that pubs are around people, and to remove the idea of having a vending machine to serve me a glass of wine on a weekend doesn't really appeal to me, if I'm honest. So I'm going to say, that ultimately pubs are about people, and and especially the smaller pubs, it's even more about people, because perhaps they haven't got the resources to invest in so much tech. So it's definitely for me about having the right people who are correctly trained and also motivated to fulfill a good job for us. And I think that's the best investment that any pub operator can make, really, still, in my view.
Sure. No, thank you, Theresa. And yeah, I think like we've already we've been able to identify a few sort of pressures that happen within the industry, and more so now than ever. But in your sort of experience, how have you sort of seen these pressures manifest themselves within the industry, and what impact have you personally sort of seen there?
I mean, we're not alone in JW Lees in terms of, we're all feeling these pressures, and particularly around recruiting, good team members who have got the desired skills and experience maybe that we're looking for. So I think it's important to acknowledge that there are probably fewer experienced people, particularly chefs, in the industry. But even when we are recruiting people that have got coming to us with experience, that doesn't mean we don't have to do any level of training with them. Getting somebody totally off the shelf, already made, is very unlikely. And even if they've worked elsewhere, we still have to induct them into our ways of working and our service cycle, perhaps, and the particular nuances of working in one of our pubs. So there is a level of training that has to happen, whether or not somebody's got experience or not. And I do think there is sometimes, more value in recruiting somebody with little or no experience, and so you're not having to undo all the training that they maybe had in the past sometimes. So maybe we look to recruit on behaviours, but then that means training everybody from scratch, from how to carry a tray of drinks through to pouring a pint to grilling the steak or whatever it might be. We have to undertake that training. So there's pros and cons to both, I think, and I've seen over the years pros and cons of both. But either way, that it doesn't escape the fact that there is an investment to be made, and that's in terms of time and money as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. Thank you, Theresa. And if you don't mind sharing, what have you done? And I know this because I've worked with you, but for the rest of the audience, what have you specifically done within JW Lees?
So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, my role is new into the business. So there was no L&D business partner prior to me arriving. We did have somebody coordinating the training, but it was predominantly provided by external trainers, and there was very little in-house training other than an induction going on. So my whole 18 months has been spent kind of reviewing what we've got, looking at the business priorities. So one of the things that came to light was just looking at that induction, and can we make it slicker, smoother, better, more time effective, more cost effective. Hence why we ended up meeting, because whilst we did have some provision in place for basic online training, for example, for health and safety courses, that kind of thing, then I kind of look at my previous experience and know that could be improved on. So now we have a 14-day induction program for any new starter, and that's basically a blended approach between some online training provided by our external partner, which is great, and then also some face-to-face induction. So they'd have a site orientation, for example, be shown all the relevant health and safety factors within their particular business, and then also they would then do some job-related training along with that. So front of house, for example, would do customer service module as an introduction, and then we would supplement that with, again, our JW Lees ways of working alongside that. So this is predominantly conducted by general managers and other members of the management team, and then we record the training that's done internally through the digital workbook function on our learning management system now. So it gives us a basic introduction into the business, which then we can build on going forward, and that's my next kind of phase of my project for the next sort of 6 to 12 months, is looking at how we can develop longer term career pathways.
Love it, really good. And I guess when you're sort of talking about, there was a sort of mantra that you discussed previously when you say the customer's always right. Have you seen a change in the mantra, and how do L&D managers impact this?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, customer is so important, and as I've mentioned before, increasingly demanding. But also, I think for me, it's the way that the training focuses shift over the years is quite interesting. I mean, when I first started out in hospitality, you know, there wasn't much consideration given to me in terms of what I needed and what I wanted. Yeah. It was all about what do we need to do to make the customer happy. So that customer is always right kind of thing kind of fit into that. But now the L&D function needs to not only consider the needs of the customer in terms of making sure they've got the skills and knowledge to deliver the offer, but also we're looking at the individuals, employees, and their personal development, and the demands for that are increasing, you know, every year, and also, you know, looking at being a positive or having a positive employer brand, so being an employer of choice really by offering a range of development opportunities for people, and whether that's professional career development or enhancements or something that just keeps people engaged and motivated to want to stay with the business, and those are the kind of things that I'm having to look at more and more now in my career now rather than in my early career, just so we can try and, you know, keep the best talent in our business and attract them in.
Very good, very good. And when you've got your ear to the ground, what do you hear from staff and managers around what good training looks like?
Well, I mean, as I've said, GMs are under so much pressure. Team training of any type, any sort of training in the business, just needs to be as easy as possible, as accessible as possible, and easy and simple to deliver and cost effective for them, because they've got so much else going on. It was interesting. Now I was sat with one of our new GMs recently. And me saying actually what a relief it was and how great he thought our new system is, because in the past he's had to kind of, you know, think of all his own training when he's inducted a new member of staff and deliver all that himself, whereas now there is an element of that he can kind of, you know, pass on via the online training, etc., and then he only has to do you know, a bit more of a limited, you know, show and tell around the business, and he just thought that was great, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of, you know, back when I first started, and some of you on the call might remember these days as well, where, you know, if we wanted to deliver food safety training to our team members, then it was a 6-hour face-to-face, death by PowerPoint. It was death by acetate, huge big piles of acetates that we had to deliver. And I think now sometimes when I you know, hear the odd grumble from a GM about, you know, the team members having to do all these online trainings, I'm thinking that, you know, I'd much rather as a team member do an online training session that might take me, you know, no more than an hour to do, rather than sit for 6 hours solidly listening to somebody droning on about various bacteria. So, you know, we have evolved. We've still got a way to go, but you know, I do believe that we're heading in the right direction.
No, I love that. And I think, like, it is sort of funny when you think back, and it's nice that we have had the opportunity to evolve. But what would you say it was like prior to sort of Tech Solutions, like when you have that sort of blended approach? But what were you doing previously before you had this new solution in place?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, I think back to my early career, quite often I draw on things that I was lucky enough to go through. Like I say, I had some great experiences because I worked for a large PLC, you know, who have, you know, significant resources and invested a lot of time and money in the training teams in that business. Fundamentally, you know, whether you're doing something on a piece of paper or on a flip chart or whatever, however the method of delivery is, it's really important that the experience is positive. And so for me, you know, having the more engaging online training that we have through MAPAL and Flow, for example, it enables me to, you know, ensure that they're getting great training, because it's been designed and put together by people that really know the industry, and it saves me having to create all that content, video all that content, and upload it, which, you know, might not have the skills to do necessarily. So it makes it, you know, easier for me as an L&D professional. But also, I think in terms of, you know, making sure people are motivated to want to train in a positive way and pass on their skills and knowledge. You know, I was lucky enough when I worked for the large PLC to, you know, to go to Florida, Disney in Florida for 5 days. It was an amazing working week of my life, I have to say. You know, and as a young training manager, I mean, how motivational, inspirational was that? And I still draw on things that I learned there on the in the quality service program that we attended. And I'm, you know, and I know that's out of reach for many organizations, but it's the little things that we can perhaps do to motivate the people that are actually going to be delivering our training, whether that is the GMs themselves or members of their management team, or whether it is in-house trainers or or full-time L&D professionals. We need that level of motivation in order to do our jobs efficiently. I kind of consider that sometimes we're like cheerleaders cheering everybody else on, but kind of we need people to cheer us on as well, and to make us feel motivated and positive, because sometimes those challenges are significant.
No, I totally understand. And I guess I'm jumping further forward into the future here. What would be your sort of thoughts around, so we went back, we've came forward with tech. What would be your thoughts around sort of an incoming edition of sort of AI and gamification?
I think there's a pressure. I'm feeling a pressure. I don't know about anybody else, but my inbox seems to be full of emails asking me to join a webinar to learn about how to use AI in L&D. And I think it's great. And, and for those businesses who are starting from scratch, maybe using ChatGPT, I don't know what it's called, in order to create something from scratch, is probably quite helpful. I just recently designed our own Future Leaders program, which, I resisted the urge to use AI, and I kind of went on my own knowledge and tailored it bespokely to our own business. So because I've got those years and years of experience, so I'm able to do that. I do have concerns around gamification and AI when it comes to some of the more sort of compliance topics, serious topics like food allergens, for example, that if we make it too gamey, and it's almost like trivializing potentially some of the seriousness of those topics. So personally, I'd rather keep that kind of approach to more this sort of, sales and service engagement, and maybe in creating scenarios and things like that. I think it potentially is useful, but I think it's kind of running before you can walk if you've not got your basics in place. We need to be making sure we've got that baseline of everybody's safe, legal and compliant, and then we can build from that. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I'd be interested to hear what anybody else's experience is and who's using it to good effect, because I think as an industry we could work together on that.
No, thank you, Theresa. That's it makes sense. It's definitely something that's here to stay. It's just how we take it on as an industry, I think. I'm very aware there's sort of 3 minutes left. If anyone does have any questions, please put it into the chat just now, and we will come to them at the end if there's an opportunity. If there's nothing, I'm just going to go into my last question, which is actually just about maintaining. Theresa, you've given us some great examples of how you've sort of went from past to future to back to putting together a training program. So it must be a great sense of achievement to obviously set up the training, but more importantly, how would you maintain that consistency of training?
Well, I think, having a good system in place, whether it is an Excel spreadsheet where you can track what you're doing, or whether it's a fully flown, learning management system like we have now. It's really important that you keep a track of what's going on across the business. You have visibility, because without that, then you can't have consistency. You can't spot where the potential risk areas are or where you need to be investing your time and effort. So I do really recommend that to anybody, whether you're starting out or not, that you need that as a base. And I think, again, it's then tapping into all the things available. So maybe whether it's through the Levy Fund and apprenticeships, providing a kind of a framework for career development there. We do pay into the levy, so we do have some success with that as a business, but it's something we definitely could do more of. General manager development in terms of, equipping them with the skills to train and develop their own people, where possible, leaning on suppliers to either deliver training for you as part of that agreement to buy from them, or even supplying just basic materials so that you can, utilize those in your own training. I think that's really important, again, for consistency and to be time effective. And I think as well, investing in having trainers. I mean, I'm a person, a team of one. That's a bit disingenuous. I do have people around me supporting me, but I'm the only person focused on L&D. But determined to grow that across the business. So we're just launching or about to launch a great collaboration with Purple Story on Train the Trainer, so I can actually increase my reach and visibility across the business, and we can develop our own trainers of the future through the talent that we've already got in the business. So those are my kind of key strategies, I guess.
No, perfect. Thank you. Sorry, Theresa, just cutting you off there. I realise we have 30 seconds left. However, we have had one question and I would really love to be able to answer it. So thank you, everyone, just for holding on. The questions come from, we've not got the name there, but it's Town Square Training Guides. And they've thanked us for that. So thank you so much. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And they've just said, any further advice to increasing buy-in to a training culture, particularly for younger employees to keep service quality high, even for those that are with us for a shorter term?
Yeah, and I think it is definitely a challenge. And I think in the past, I've had great experience leaning on suppliers to help with that, making fun, engaging, interactive sessions that are not necessarily, delivered by even yourself, but really tapping into what they're interested in. So in the past, I've worked with suppliers like Diageo and things like that. It's harder now than it maybe was before because everybody's been squeezed. But again, using video clips, using a whole portal of online resources that are available, making TikToks and that kind of thing. These are all things that we could be doing, or we could be utilizing people within our teams to actually involve them and make them feel part of what we're doing. So I'd definitely look at things like that, especially for that younger generation, and make it fun and enjoyable for them.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that from our perspective as well. With the training that I've been fortunate enough putting together with Theresa, we very much look to try and make it called bite-sized learning. So you just want it to be as short as and interactive as possible. Attention spans aren't obviously what they used to be, and making sure that obviously everything is mobile dynamic. So 87% of our learners have been seen to actually use it through a mobile device. So as soon as you sort of cut off and you're not able to access through the mobile device, it's like the whole world's ended. So it's always good to make it as accessible as possible, sort of quick and easy, that you'll keep them engaged, and being able to sort of give gratification as well. So to be able to see results, whether that's through certificates or being able to offer praise, is always really nice to, I think people aspire to that more now than ever, than maybe the extra sort of £1 an hour or whatever it would allude to be. It always makes more sense now to be able to give sort of feedback there and then. And I think we're seeing that a lot more, that people really seek that approval. We're now sort of 2 minutes over. I'm so happy with that. There was bets going that I would go for too long, but I'm delighted that we managed to keep relatively within time, Theresa. I hope everyone watching has been able to at least resonate with one or two of the points raised and discussed. As a collective, I think it's really important for us all to continue sort of sharing best practices with industry peers, and it'll just help us elevate your sort of team experiences and the team training. I'd like to say a huge thank you to you, Theresa, for your valuable time and sharing us with all your wealth of knowledge. And a massive thank you to the audience and anybody that maybe watches the future recording of this. Thank you so much. Please feel free to reach out to myself or Theresa. Anything else to add, Theresa, before I sign off?
No, just thank you for inviting me, and say, I'm really happy to connect with anybody, share ideas, inspiration. I think it's really important that as L&D professionals or people that are interested and passionate about pubs, that we stick together and we help each other out as much as possible.
Agreed. Yep. So find either of us on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect, add, and we'll be sure to keep in contact. But yes, again, massive thank you, and thank you so much for your time, Theresa. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.